I found out that 4 of my 5 kids, ages 33F, 30F, 28M, and 14F, are not biologically mine. My wife, 51, is not providing me with answers. Do not use ancestry kits for paternity testing. If you want to confirm if the child is yours, get a paternity test at a medical lab. Ancestry tests lack accuracy and shouldn't be relied upon for paternity testing. In my situation, it just triggered the need for a proper test. I'm sorry if this isn't the right place to ask. I shared this on r/relationships, but it got locked. The moderator recommended I try r/parenting instead. I need some relationship advice on how to handle things with my wife, so I'm looking for help here as well. I'm sorry if this gets long and a bit scattered. I'm not in the best state of mind right now. Everything in my life has changed dramatically in the past few weeks. I want to provide enough context to get the best advice possible. I'm not ready to discuss this with my friends or family yet. I met my wife in high school, and we got married while in college. We have 5 wonderful children, and I truly see them as a blessing. Until a few weeks ago, I believed we had the perfect marriage. We were just regular high school sweethearts. We went out together, never argued, and I thought I was doing everything a good husband should do. I'm not trying to paint myself as the ideal husband. My job requires long hours, and I may not have always been there when she needed me. However, I want to emphasize that I've never thought our marriage was in trouble. I never thought my wife would be unfaithful. She's always been there for me and our kids, doing everything she can to support us. My oldest daughter recently took an ancestry test. The ancestry test results clearly indicated that I was not her father. She shared this with me in private, showing me the results, and I could see she was really upset about it. I told her right away that she's my daughter and I will always love her, no matter what. We decided to get an official paternity test because the ancestry tests aren't fully reliable. I found out that I am not her biological father. This news hit me hard. I feel embarrassed that I cried in front of my daughter. Discovering my wife's infidelity and realizing how my reaction was affecting my daughter was tough. I wish I had held back for her, but I didn't. I then called my other children, except for the youngest, to come and see me. I wanted to find out how far my wife's infidelity went. If it was just a one-time thing, I might be able to move on, especially since it happened a while back. I didn't want to tell my youngest because she's still in school, a teenager, and I didn't think it was the right time for her to know. I explained to the other 3 what happened. I tell them I love them no matter what, and that I will always be their dad. I just need to know how long this has been happening. It was really moving to see how they reacted. They didn't mind that I wasn't their biological father. They were just concerned about how heartbroken I felt. Their support has been the only thing keeping me going these past few weeks. We completed paternity tests for all 3. None of them are my biological kids, and among my 4 children, there are 3 different fathers. It somehow made things worse. She wasn't just having one affair, she was involved with multiple people. I can't explain how this makes it worse, but it just does. So I confront my wife about it, expecting her to confess and ask for forgiveness. She keeps it to herself. She doesn't take it seriously at all. She claims the tests are probably flawed. All 4? How am I supposed to take that seriously? I keep mentioning it, and she keeps ignoring me, getting more irritated each time. When I mention it, she tries to make me feel guilty. We've been together since high school. Do you really not trust me? Etc. How can I trust her when the evidence is so strong? I've shared what happened. How can I reassure my children that this doesn't change anything between us? I think my reactions, like having total breakdowns, have made them doubt things, even though I keep trying to reassure them. What's the best way to manage my youngest daughter? I think our marriage is beyond repair, and I have to talk to my daughter about it. I want to protect her from the truth for now, but I don't want my wife to lie and paint me as the bad guy. Is there any chance I can save my marriage? I've been with my wife forever. It's hard to imagine life without her. Leaving her seems like the obvious choice, but we have 5 kids together. I want to explore any options that might help save our marriage. Edit. Thank you to everyone for the support and advice. I haven't responded to all the comments, but I've read them all and appreciate your advice. I will keep reading any comments or messages you send. I really appreciate all your support. If this gets sorted out, I might share an update. But if she keeps lying, I probably won't bother, since there's not much else to say. Based on the advice from this and the r/parenting thread, I've decided to get second tests just to be safe in case something unexpected has happened. Talk to my wife with all 4 of my older kids there. Explain the situation to my youngest. Inquire if she is interested in taking a paternity test. It will be completely her choice. I plan to seek therapy for sure. My mental state has been getting worse over the past few weeks, and I need to stay strong for my kids. Based on my wife's honesty and her explanation, I might consider counseling. Right now, I believe divorce is unavoidable unless she makes a significant change in her attitude. Get in touch with a lawyer and get ready for divorce if it happens again. Thank you all for your support and advice. Edit 2. I should clarify some things that people have been asking. How did the ancestry results indicate I wasn't her father? My family is all Irish. I don't have any relatives outside of Ireland besides my immediate family, and I even have the typical red hair. My daughter's ancestry results revealed no connections to the British Isles, Western Europe, or Northern Europe. That raised some concerns, but it's not definitive, which is why we need the paternity tests. Which 2 kids have the same dad? My 2 oldest daughters have the same dad. How did your wife get pregnant with your kids? We didn't plan for our eldest daughter. Everything else was organized. Every time we tried, we got pregnant a few months later. We both agreed on our first 3 kids, but she pushed me to have the youngest. She was in her late 30s and wanted one last child before it was too late. Eventually, I agreed. She was conceived a few months after we began trying. Are you unable to have children? I have no idea. I have not done a fertility test before, but the fact that none of the children we planned are mine makes me wonder if I might be. I will get a fertility test done soon. Oop posted the same thing in Ars Parenting and Ars Relationships, but both got taken down. Commenters in all 3 subreddits encouraged Oop to talk to his youngest, seek legal advice before confronting his wife, and consider getting another paternity test in case the first one was inaccurate. The edits to the original post cover all the key questions and suggestions. Update 1. I have gotten many messages and comments asking for an update. A lot of them. Can someone explain how comments work? I'm not sure, but I think they come after an update. I'll share an update, but it won't be for a while. This whole situation will take a while to figure out. I can't say when I'll have an update, but it will be at least a few weeks, maybe even months. It will come eventually, I assure you. Thanks for all the support everyone has given me. Update 2. I've been thinking about posting an update, but nothing ever got resolved. I thought I'd share this here for anyone who might still be waiting for one. I'm sorry for not updating sooner, like I said I would. My kids and I talked to their mother right after I made that Reddit post. It didn't turn out great. It seemed like the reality of no one believing her really sank in. She broke down and kept apologizing, but wouldn't explain anything or provide any reassurance. In the following weeks, we hardly spoke. I thought she might be reflecting on things, and I anticipated that she would eventually talk to me and clarify her feelings. I thought she was caught in a lie that spiraled out of control and needed time to sort things out. Nope. I got home one evening and found that she had taken her own life by overdosing. I lost the love of my life, and I'll never understand the mistakes she made. I wish I could turn back time and erase everything. Despite her mistakes, I genuinely wanted to find a way to move forward. Now, I feel overwhelmed with guilt for pushing her for an answer. The hardest part of this whole situation was seeing my kids struggle to hold it all together after losing their mother. Make sure to express your love to your family while you can. I'm a 53-year-old father, and my 15-year-old daughter is pregnant. I need to figure out how to tell her that our older daughter, who is 31, is actually her biological mother. Before I share this story, please take a moment to understand this image. It's really important for grasping the entire story. I'm a 53-year-old man. My wife, Rose, 53, had our older daughter, Sarah, when we were both 22. Sarah is now 31. We were young and struggling, but we got by and raised Sarah as best as we could. She became pregnant at 15. She was going through a tough time and had to go to therapy. She never talked about her father, which seemed to upset her, so we didn't bring it up. She initially planned to terminate but kept postponing. Eventually, she informed us that she wanted to put her up for adoption. 5 months into the pregnancy, she was talking to a social worker about a couple interested in adopting, but then the couple backed out. Sarah asked us if we wanted to adopt after trying to find more couples. Rose and I were both 38, and we talked about having another child. That's when we decided to adopt our daughter Ellie after Sarah had her at 16. 2 years after Ellie, my wife and I had our son Logan, who is now 13 biologically. We always intended to tell Ellie she was adopted, but we knew we also had to explain that Sarah was her biological mother. Sarah and Ellie never formed a bond, not even as friends. After the birth, she moved out and stayed with Rose's sister. She has always cared for her Logan, but never for Ellie. I've had mixed feelings about Sarah. I noticed she posted a picture on Instagram that was meant to include all 5 of us, but Ellie was left out. I asked her about it, and she said it's too painful. A couple of years ago, she came to us drunk, asking to see her daughter. We spoke with her and allowed her to stay, but we kept her away from Ellie because she was drunk. Her husband told us she had experienced multiple miscarriages and was advised to think about using a surrogate. 4 years ago, she made that choice, and now has twins, Jack and Jill, who are 3 years old and biologically hers. Ellie enjoys being an aunt to the twins. Sarah supports this by inviting Ellie over for family time with Logan, who likes being an uncle. We asked Sarah if it was time to tell Ellie the truth about the twins, since Ellie is close to them. Sarah insists that Ellie isn't ready yet. Ellie recently came to us and said she is pregnant. This time, the situation is different. We met the father, who is a childhood friend of hers, and they chose to lose their virginities to each other. We talked to Ellie a long time ago, just like we did with Sarah. We handled the situation calmly and have met with the father and his parents since then. Ellie wants to keep the baby. She is 3 months pregnant. We haven't told Sarah yet. We're unsure how to handle it and how she will react. My wife and I are thinking about telling Ellie the truth, but we want Sarah to be present. Let's see some comments. Comment: have you thought about the possibility that Sarah was raped? That might explain why she never mentioned the father, wanted to terminate the pregnancy, and is so distant from her daughter, who is the child of a rapist. Just a quick thought. Reply: she has never mentioned it, but we've always suspected what happened. Her therapist is the only one who knows, and whatever is discussed stays between them. Comment: talk to your son about contraception if you haven't done so yet. Why does her being pregnant make it necessary to tell her that she is your other daughter's biological child? Isn't that a bit excessive right now? Reply: we might wait to tell her, but we're unsure how Sarah will react to the news about Ellie being pregnant. We talked to our 3 kids about contraception. They didn't want to use protection the first time and thought being careful would prevent pregnancy. Getting around can be enjoyable. Update 1. I wanted to share an update since I'm still receiving messages on this account. Let me start by discussing the main issue. I need advice on what to do after finding out my daughter Ellie, who is 15, is pregnant. We went through the same situation with her older sister Sarah, who is 31 and is actually Ellie's biological mother. I chose to concentrate on supporting Ellie, who is 4 months pregnant. We didn't want to add any stress by bringing up the adoption just yet. Honestly, we should have told her a while ago. Even though Sarah had strong feelings about it, we didn't really know anything about Ellie's father, so that conversation would have been up to Sarah. We, as Ellie's parents, should have told her the truth when she was younger. A week after my post, Ellie shared the news about the pregnancy with the family. She told my parents, her boyfriend's grandparents, and then she told Sarah. Sarah didn't take it well, but she said she'd be there for her. Sarah contacted us afterward, clearly upset. She mentioned she was prepared to speak with Ellie, starting with the adoption discussion with us. She expressed a desire to inform Ellie about her father on her own. We talked it over. Ellie was upset at first, but she settled down after some time. She had questions about her father. Sarah talked to her about it. I didn't know what was said, and it wasn't our place to ask. Ellie mentioned she knows who he is, but didn't want to reach out, so we just moved on from there. Recently, I received a call from my sister-in-law, Renee, who is 31 years old and married to my brother. She was upset and wanted to know what kind of twisted thoughts Sarah was putting in Ellie's mind. She brought up Ellie's adoption, and once I got her to settle down, she explained what happened. She said that Ellie had reached out to my brother Ethan, 32, and informed him about the adoption and wanted to have a conversation with him. This confused me because Ethan and I don't talk much. We were never really close due to our 21-year age difference. He was my mother's late child and got along well with my kids and our sister's kids since they were all around the same age. Ellie only saw him during the holidays, so sharing details about her life didn't seem right. Renee told me that Ellie said Ethan was her father because Sarah had told her that, and she also mentioned that he was going to be a grandpa. I needed to take a break for a bit. I called Sarah and we talked for a while. She confirmed that Ethan is indeed Ellie's biological father. Sarah and Ethan were tight as kids, just 8 months apart in age. Sarah mentioned that during puberty, feelings shifted. Whenever she visited her grandmother, they would retreat from everyone and spend time together. Sarah expressed her feelings about this situation, clarifying that he never assaulted her and that everything was consensual. She didn't want to share it with me because she felt ashamed that her baby's father was her uncle. I have also spoken to Ethan. He told me it was true, but he denied it to Ellie over text. We talked a bit, but even though it was consensual, how could he sleep with his own niece? I wasn't listening to any of it. He was aware of the pregnancy and that he was Ellie's father all along, yet he never took the initiative to say anything. I spoke with Ellie about it. She mentioned she was upset when she found out, but she always believed she resembled my stepdad's side of the family. It bothered me when she brought that up because I can see it clearly now. I always knew Ellie preferred her father because she didn't resemble anyone in our family, but I never thought it would be Ethan. My mom and stepdad found out, and Ethan confirmed it to Renee. She took the kids and went to stay with her family. Ethan has attempted to contact Ellie, but I don't want her to speak with him. I'm still her father, and I don't believe it's safe for her to be in touch with him. Ellie hasn't shown any interest in talking. I asked her why she contacted him before discussing it with Sarah or us. She said she wanted to hear his side of the story, but feels betrayed for being lied to. Is it wrong for me to require my son to take a paternity test? All names have been altered. This situation is complicated, and I would like to hear thoughts from neutral individuals. I was told to share this on another page. I am a 39-year-old female with 2 children, a 17-year-old male and a 10-year-old female. At 21, I had a one-night stand that led to my son, Austin. The father chose to be absent from our lives. When my son was 3, I met my husband, Mark, who is 38. My son loves my husband and refers to him as father. Austin met his girlfriend through Alan, who is Mark's best friend and her father. Macy and Austin have been friends since childhood, and everyone was excited when they started dating. After we found out, Mark and I talked to Austin and told him we're happy for him. We also needed him to understand the importance of safe sex, regardless of whether it was happening or not. He felt disgusted, but said he got it, and we moved on. My son is often seen as shy and soft-spoken. He is very sensitive and tends to take harsh comments or actions personally. We believed everything was okay with him until he came home in tears. He finally revealed that Macy had cheated on him. I was upset and told my son to go, but my husband stepped in and asked to talk to Austin alone. He asked Austin what he wanted and if he wanted us to stop seeing Macy and her dad. Austin said he didn't want that and wanted to work things out with Macy. I felt upset but kept it to myself. Since then, I can't stand being around her. When I see her, all I can think about is my son, upset and crying hard. I'm polite to her, but I don't like her. Around February, Austin came home looking upset, so I sat down with him and asked what was wrong. I didn't expect him to tell me that Macy's pregnant. I was really angry and told him I expected more from him. I mentioned that he should take a paternity test before anything else happened. He got upset when I brought up the idea that she might have cheated again, but I couldn't shake off my discomfort about her unexpected pregnancy. When Mark got home from work, I told him what happened, and he was just as upset. We all sat down and talked about it. Austin said I insisted on a paternity test, and Mark was not pleased about it. I pointed out that she has cheated in the past, so she might have cheated again. That caused a big fight until we all settled down. I then asked if her parents were aware. He said she agreed to tell them tonight. About an hour later, Mark received an angry call from Alan. He insisted that my son marry his daughter. If Austin refused, Alan demanded child support and said he should stay out of the kid's life. We were all frustrated and tired, so I stated that nothing would proceed until a paternity test was completed. I wasn't going to trust the word of someone who had cheated. He exploded at us, and then there was nothing after the call. Macy was told she can't see Austin anymore, and he directed his anger at me. A few weeks back, Alan reached out and decided to take a paternity test. I asked about the sudden change, but he ignored me. He just said he set up the appointment for May 5th. Austin chose to hang out with Mark instead of me. It hurt, and I won't pretend otherwise. It brought me to tears when he said that. The results came in a few nights ago, and he isn't the father. He was devastated. Instead of saying sorry, he yelled that it was my fault and that he would have never known. He hasn't talked to me much since then. I might have been wrong to ask for a paternity test, but my focus was on my son. Did I make a mistake by asking him to take a paternity test? Update 1. Hi everyone. I've received some requests for an update, so here it is. Thanks to everyone for sharing their thoughts. I wondered if I handled things correctly after discovering he wasn't the father. I felt I might have been too harsh about it. Many of us have attended therapy, both in groups and one-on-one. My son has begun to come around and apologized for the yelling and bad choices he made. He calls it that, not me. His therapist suggested he share his thoughts on everything, and he believed she was the one. She was his second girlfriend, and he believed they had a strong connection. That changed when one of his friends showed him a picture of her kissing another guy. It led to a huge fight, which got worse when he discovered they had slept together. I have been cheated on, and it made me upset to see Austin go through the same thing. He mentioned he wasn't happy about it and felt guilty for taking his feelings out on me. We ended up hugging it out and getting ice cream afterward. After we argue, we have this little ritual. Austin broke up with Macy after he found out. She blames me for everything, but she should understand that her actions have consequences. She's not handling it well. She has been taking her anger out on everyone and even tried to egg our house. Austin has been quiet lately, but I can see he's beginning to accept things. He's been hanging out with friends more often. I've been letting him have his space, and I believe it's been beneficial over time. Next, let's talk about Mark. Many people had their own ideas about him, and some even claimed he was the father, but that's not accurate at all. He has known this little girl her whole life and believed she was better than that. He wasn't trying to save his friendship with Alan. He was letting our almost adult son make his own choices and face the consequences of those choices. Macy recently had a baby, and we know who the dad is. Sadly, the father was Chris, who was Austin's closest friend. He thought it would be a good idea to tell Austin while they were hanging out. I wasn't in the room when he said it, but I was there when he started to hit Chris. I was outside putting up Halloween decorations when I heard a loud noise and some yelling. I rushed inside to see Austin hitting Chris repeatedly. Mark heard the noise and rushed over to separate Austin from Chris. Chris said sorry and left. It was only after he drove off that Austin started crying. We went out for dinner that night. We tried to cheer him up, but I'm starting to see he needs space. I'll let him come to me when he's ready. Mark and Austin have been hanging out recently. Mark recalls being Austin's age and hopes he's helping him understand that he has plenty of time to find the right person. Therapy has been beneficial for us, but I understand he needs time to process everything. Thank you all again, and please take care of yourselves.